Okay, once again, we are on my favorite channel ever, Media Pastimes. I feel like this guy, his target audience is literally exactly me. Someone that loves skating and action sports and is exactly my age that hit the like Jackass timeline. But this, we have Viva La Bam, 20 years of controversy. I loved watching Viva La Bam. I'll be honest, living in Australia, the way that I would watch it is go to my friend's house and he had all the DVDs and we would watch it together. I don't know how you would have watched it on TV or on the internet. It was still kind of in that early internet time period. But I used to watch the DVDs with my friend. So that was my main exposure, and I absolutely loved it. Out of all the Jackass spin-offs, I like this the most. Because Bam was always like my kind of favorite.
2003, MTV debuted a new series called Viva La Bam. Acting as a spin-off for the pop culture phenomenon that was Jackass, Viva La Bam chronicled a heightened, sensationalized version of the day-to-day life of Bam Margera. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at Viva La Bam 20 years after it first premiered. So sit back, relax, dust off your brimmed beanie, grab a glass of prune juice, and double check that AARP subscription, because we're all getting old as fuck. And let's talk about Viva La Bam.
See what I mean? His target is exactly me. I am the exact demographic that he's making these videos for. I love Viva La Bam, but it was kind of jarring how he treated Phil at the time. I don't know. I feel like in the show, their life was very exaggerated. I feel like Bam was pretty authentic, but then you could tell that some stuff was scripted, some stuff was exaggerated. I rewatched this again as an adult, maybe like 5 years ago, or maybe a little bit more. And I remember some of the episodes, you're like, wait, what? It was like the fakest thing ever. There's one where they like shoot like a CGI rocket at like a pirate ship or something. And it was like the most cringe thing ever. So when you watch it back in this era, it would be fun to watch every episode. But it was still like absolute banging show. Like I almost view this era of like reality TV is like, he was a YouTuber before like you could do it yourself. Like he had a TV studio for him to just be a YouTuber, you know, one ep a week doing crazy shit at his house. He's the character. He has all these other characters. Like that's kind of how I think about it.
After wrapping up its third season in August of 2001, MTV's Jackass officially came to an end. The show was nothing short of a ratings juggernaut, but Knoxville and the rest of the cast and crew were frustrated with the creative limitations imposed by the Broadcast Standards and Practices Department at MTV. The answer to that issue was Jackass the movie, which abided by much looser restrictions with an R rating. The film made almost $80 million on a budget of $5 million, and at the time of its release, Jackass the movie was intended as a grand finale.
I went to this in the cinema. We could look up the dates and the thing, but I'm pretty sure I was age 13 and my brother was age 14. And in Australia, to watch this specific movie, you had to be over 15. And the only way you could go is if your parent went. So me, my brother, and my mom went to the cinema, watched Jackass 1. My mom's kind of just like, what the hell is this? And me and my brother were extreme hype. But yeah, maybe my brother was over 15, but I'm pretty sure we were both under 15.
5 million. And at the time of its release, Jackass the movie was intended as a grand finale. Clearly,
to me, it was crazy that we could see it in the cinema.
But MTV wasn't going to leave any money on the table by just letting this franchise die out. So they ordered 2 TV show spin-offs that were set to debut on a new programming block called Sunday Stew in October of 2003. Those shows were, of course, Viva La Bam and Wildboyz. Oh, shit.
I never liked Wildboyz nearly as much as Viva La Bam. Like, I watched it and I thought it was sometimes interesting, but then it was always like, the humor was always like sexual. It was always sexual. Whereas I feel like Viva La Bam was like having fun with the boys, like crazy shit. And I way more identified with the like having fun with the boys, where I feel like Wildboyz always went into that sexual weird category, like a little bit too much.
Shit, Wildboyz is turning 20 also? We'll get back to that one later on in the video. Even though Bam had a built-in audience from his skateboarding endeavors, the CKY videos, and Jackass, MTV wanted to see a pilot episode of Viva La Bam before they ordered a full season. The main cast members of the show were obviously Bam, along with the CKY crew comprised of Ryan Dunn, Brandon DiCamillo, Chris Rabb, and Ray Kyon. He was previously given thanks in the credits of Haggard the movie, but Tim Glom, a jack-of-all-trades who assembled a lot of the crazy set pieces on the show, started out as a supporting cast member, but eventually joined the main cast. And of course,
forgot about Rake. I'm pretty sure Rake, after all of this like ended, he just got a job as a a pharmacist, I think, and he's just like mixing people's prescription and shit. Like he's like a proper licensed pharmacist. I'm pretty sure it was that guy.
Of course, last but not least, Bam's family members. His mom April, his dad Phil, and his uncle Vince, better known as Don Vito. The pilot episode titled Phil's Hell Day really set the tone for the entire series. There are so many classic moments within this episode. Adding hydraulics to Phil's van and then immediately destroying it, installing a fire pole in the house, switching out Phil's toothpaste with ground beef,
like it's
turning
such
the whole house
YouTube
into
activities.
a skate park, and of course, ironing burgers onto Phil's clothes. Speaking of Phil's clothes,
it's funny because like in Bam, like in Jackass, some of the best shit is just the dumbest thing. Like ironing a burger onto your parents' clothes. If you pitch that to someone, it's not that interesting. Oh yeah, I'm gonna prank my dad and I'm gonna put a hamburger on his favorite shirt. Sounds so lame, but I feel like this kind of stuff hit so hard. Like, I don't know, Bam kind of got like, not lucky, but his parents are very cool and like cool, he's the protagonist and then the parents are kind of like the, what's the word, antagonist, and the opposite of protagonist, where like he does the crazy thing, they go, oh no, don't do that, don't do this. He puts the burger on, oh no. It was like such a good dynamic, I feel like.
Ironing burgers onto Phil's clothes. Speaking of Phil's clothes, it's a little known fact that
Phil seems so sick as well. Phil seems genuinely like a good dad.
The term drip. But clearly MTV liked what they saw in that pilot episode because they ordered a full season of Viva La Bam. Even though a bunch of absolutely batshit crazy stuff went down during the first season, this one feels the most contained and simplistic out of the 5 seasons that we got from this show. I mean, other than one episode dedicated to Las Vegas and a quick trip to Atlantic City in the pilot, the entire season takes place within the vicinity of Westchester, PA. Pound for pound, I think that the scavenger hunt episode is the absolute best of the introductory season.
I love the fake subtitles too all the time.
But my personal favorite from season 1 will always be episode 5, titled Paint Phil Blue and Other Stories. Obviously, the events that inspired one half of the episode's title are absolutely hilarious even to this day.
See, look how good it is.
Decorative and design.
I'm dressed in blues, make it look decorative.
The fact that Phil and Ape still live in the house from season 1 of the show and continue to find splotches of blue paint 2 decades after this episode was filmed just makes me so happy.
That blue was like the gift that kept on giving, and there are times when I'm on the phone and I'll look under the cabinet and I'm like, God damn.
It's a little reminder.
I'm like, I have painted this 500 times.
But the segment of the episode where Bam, Deco, and Rake dig a tunnel into Don Vito's house while Dunn and Rab keep him occupied is just one of the all-time greats. The
They did so many
Ryan
funny
and Chris
stuff.
got into while hanging out with Don Vito are hysterical, but the payoff the next day when they burst out of the floor and Don Vito reacts angrily gets me every time.
You're mentally insane, all idiots.
As the series went on, the concepts and settings only got bigger. In a 2017 interview with the 9 Club, Bam revealed that the budget MTV provided for Viva La Bam was, at one point, $300,000 per episode. That budget allowed for the show to be taken to different locations around the world, not to mention massive set pieces. A good example being the State of Bam from season 4. If you weren't there to witness the growth of Viva La Bam, it's probably pretty hard to understand just how big this show eventually became. No exaggeration, I remember seeing dozens of kids rocking this Element Bam shirt or this.
I think that Element Bam one was the most iconic, like with the hologram. Like that, but with hologram. I guess it was Element.
Seeing dozens of kids rocking this Element Bam shirt or this audio heartogram shirt during my first week of 7th grade in 2005. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I didn't conform. Because I definitely stepped onto the school bus on the first day wearing this exact Element shirt. But Viva La Bam was often criticized for being scripted or staged. It happened when the show was in production, and it's still happening today. Especially as more and more people who first watched the show as adolescents revisit the series as adults.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. I got to remember exactly what happens. It's something to do with a pirate ship, but they shoot like a cannon at something, and it's like the fakest shit you'll ever see. I wonder, maybe he'll show it in the thing, because it was so bad. I remember watching it and being like, what the hell?
Going back to rewatch some episodes for the making of this video, I will admit that there's a noticeable increase in the amount of forced moments or acting as the
Look, that was meant to be done shooting a cannon. Dude, me and this guy are aligned. Exactly what I said.
A noticeable increase in the amount of
it's meant to be him shooting the cannon. Look how CGI this is. He's shooting it at like an island.
Moments or acting as the series goes on.
No, that is not what happened.
In the amount of forced moments or acting as the series goes on. For example, in season 5, episode 5, Limo versus Lambo, there's a moment where Deco calls Bam while driving behind his stolen Lamborghini. If you understand how reality television works, you can sort of just laugh about these types of moments and continue to enjoy the show for what it is.
Yeah.
Clearly, the general story beats of every episode were pre-planned. MTV wasn't just going to send a massive production crew down to Westchester so that they could film the guys sitting around a table wondering what they were going to do that day. They had to do things like plant a cannonball in the woods behind Bam's house for the guys to stumble upon, because moments like this kick off the plot of each episode in a more natural way for the viewer. A few years ago, Chris Rapp
I think there's nothing wrong with that.
On his podcast, who worked on Viva La Bam as director of photography. During the interview, Joe pulled out a script from the pirate ship episode of Viva La Bam that was drafted up by one of MTV's writers. From what he read off, fans of this show should be really glad that the CKY crew didn't bend to the will of MTV, because they would have absolutely ruined this show.
Bam would say that he would argue with the dudes, and he would say, put this song, and they go, oh, Bam, we can't get the rights, blah, 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 and then they put like royalty-free song, and then Bam goes, what the fuck is this? The whole point of this is that it's like showing the culture that we live and breathe. The music is important. You can't put this bullshitty Hollywood music. You have to put the real music. And Bam was good at like arguing with them. That's one thing that I seen. Like Bam always kind of had a lot of integrity in that regard, is that he would never be like, oh, okay, we'll take a bit more money and put the shitty song. He would be like, no, you have to put this song.
As April talks, she's unable to open a mayonnaise jar. Well, she hands the mayonnaise jar to Bam, but he can't open it either. Bam tells Dunn to get Rake to open it. He hands the jar of mayonnaise to April and says, when Rake comes down, ask him to open the mayonnaise. April is confused, but agreed.
I'm going to show you that this is the script, and I'm going to throw it the hell out, because that's what we normally would have done.
Well, you forgot about the Tim Glom part.
Oh, exactly.
People also often...
Seems like Bam would have often got his way mostly. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like a little bit... The one thing that makes me sad about this whole thing looking back on this era is like in the intro, right? The famous line in the intro is he goes, what is Bam gonna do next? And then he goes, whatever the fuck I want. It's kind of sad to see like... When you're in your early 20s and you do whatever the fuck you want, it kind of leads you on this path where like bad things will happen eventually. Like it's a little bit... It's like almost like foreshadowing. Like it didn't age well looking at that now, you know?
And forget the fact that for the massive impact that this show had on MTV, it really wasn't being produced for that long. The entirety of Viva La Bam consists of
Ludwig? Ludwig. What?
seasons, with 8 episodes per season. And those 5 seasons were cranked out in a time span of less than 2 years. If certain aspects of the show hadn't been staged, there's just no way that MTV's output expectations for this series would have been met. But that constant output really impacted the lives of the cast and crew in negative ways. Chris Rapp has spoken candidly on his podcast about the final day of filming on the show, and the fact that once the camera stopped rolling, he basically ditched everybody and started a new life.
I mean, yes, there was a falling out with Bam. I had gotten to a point with him where I couldn't stand to be around him. With the ego, with the way that fame had done that to him, with the way, that he had treated some of us and those kind of things. And so I was completely furious and over it.
That's why he was...
I always felt like they would treat Rab almost as like a cartoon character. They'll be like, this is the craziest guy that would do anything. Like in the whole Viva La Bam, I mean, maybe I could be wrong on the rewatch, I don't think he ever articulated himself as eloquently as he did just then, ever. Like literally ever. They never said, hey, what do you think, Rab? How are you feeling today, Rab? Like literally never. They just go, Rab, take a shit on this thing. And he goes, ha ha ha, yeah. Like that was interesting. But that's sad to hear him say shit like that. I think it was 4 years, right? I think it was 4 seasons.
He had treated some of us and those kind of things. And so I was completely furious and over it.
That's why he was completely absent for the Viva La Spring Break special in 2006 and sort of fell out of the spotlight for several years. But the cast member who was most affected by this series, and this shouldn't come as a surprise, was Bam. He received his own epically latered special a few years back. Definitely give that a watch if you haven't yet. But in that special, he stated that Viva La Bam essentially took over his daily life for the 2 years that it was being produced. He missed out on skate tours with Element and stopped skating as much in general. Throw in the fame that he received for being the face of a massive MTV show, and you have a recipe for disaster. Both during and after Viva La Bam's run, Castle Bam turned into a party destination, which was the starting point for Bam's drug and alcohol problems. A lot of people love to use Bam as the poster boy for a downward spiral, but if you take a step back and look at the lifestyle that he got himself into, this could have happened to almost anyone. Jackass and CKY popped off when he was in his...
Look at that mixerboard thing. And what's that? VX 2000? That's either 2000 or 2100. I think it's 2000. Mixerboard, VHS to VHS. That's how you used to edit back in the day. And the dual CRT monitor is crazy. I used to have a monitor like that. I edited a VHS to VHS one time, but it was like it was on the way out. I made my original sponsor me tape VHS to VHS.
Early 20s. And Viva La Bam exploded when he was between the ages of 24 and 26. I'd imagine that most 24 to 26-year-olds lack the ability to process that much fame and that much fortune coming at them in such a short span of time. Another cast member who didn't handle fast fame in a great way was Bam's uncle Don Vito. During his time on the show, he became a fan favorite for both his angry outbursts.
I don't want to play in a civil war. I don't want to...
But see, like, this is where Bam is, like, not a dick or whatever, because, like, he's making all these people rich and famous, but, like, he would kind of torment, like, him, Don Vito especially, Phil and April, he would kind of torment in, like, sort of an endearing way, whereas Don Vito, he would kind of just torment in, like, a straight-up negative way. But yeah, RIP, and it seemed like towards the end of his life, he got in this big legal scandal where, like, it was unclear what the true thing was, but it seemed like a girl was, like, basically saying, oh, he molested me. But from the outside looking in, it seemed like it was extremely unbased claim with, like, no basis in reality, and all the legal fees and stuff were, like, financially ruining him, and then probably the stress, like, led to him dying as well, which is, like, really kind of sad.
Born back then. Get me out of here, man.
And his
I think I've heard Bam talk about it. But I guess we'll never really know what actually happened.
Don Vito was arrested on suspicion of inappropriately touching a 12 and 14-year-old girl during 2 separate public appearances. Long story short, Vince Margera's lawyer in this case basically said that during those events, he was playing his Don Vito character. He was acting as his character from Viva La Bam. Therefore, Vince Margera, who his lawyer considered to be a different person from Don Vito entirely, shouldn't be held to the same standards. There is something to be said about the difference between an individual's public and private persona, because people who were close to Vito claimed that
that's like low key. That's the legal argument of it was YouTube prank. Oh, it was actually YouTube prank. But I don't know. In these kind of situations, it's hard to know what the truth is, you know?
In everyday life, he wasn't anything like his character on the show. He did actually stutter and speak in gibberish a lot, but his family alleges that he was a genius when it came to tax preparation of all things. But being able to flip a switch in your brain and transform yourself into a beloved character doesn't give you a free pass to act like a belligerent fool or perform weird, disgusting, creepy actions on your fans.
Yeah.
But Viva La Bam still stands as one of the biggest shows that MTV ever produced. Some might say that it has an
If that's the defense, then it's pretty sus. Yeah, I agree. That's not the best defense. I'm not sure exactly what the charge was.
Very well, but if you can suspend some disbelief during the staged or scripted moments of the series, this show is still extremely entertaining. My 2 favorite cast members have always been Brandon DiCamillo and Ryan Dunn. Dico's improvisational skills on this show were just something else entirely.
Tandem wake up, you know what that is? No? Well, it's a cornucopia of pleasurable fun, synchronized with
I was never a
another
huge
wake-up
Dico
for
fan.
everyone.
I would say my favorite was definitely Bam. Even out of Jackass, it was Bam. And then next, probably Dunn. This video where one of the allegations, it seems like he was kind of set up, but at the same time, you don't know.
To enjoy.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
That's why I never really, in skating, when crazy shit like that happens, I never really want to talk about it, because, like, who knows? Like, am I the one to just be investigating some shit like that? Like, I don't want to be talking about shit like that. But yeah, I mean, this one in particular was, I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you could look at it.
Off the cuff shit he said during his time on this show has lived in my head rent-free for years. Every time I see a bottle of Pantene, I think of this moment.
Someone give me some Pantene.
Every time I hear someone say New Jersey, I have to repeat it back in my head like this.
What is the capital of New Jersey?
Ryan Dunn, on the other hand, was the king of subtle, sarcastic humor.
Clam, shut up.
Sammy Baked, I think, like, I'm not trying to defense for Don Vito or anything. He's dead or whatever. Like, he did whatever happened. But I think it was something that he was like doing a photo op, and there's like a line of people coming in the photo op. And then I think the person came to the photo op, and that's when the incident occurred or whatever. I think it was something like that. But I don't actually know.
Wants to hear from you.
And I promised earlier that I would talk about Wildboyz. As a kid, I could not stand this show. I was never the biggest fan of Steve-O when I was younger, and I was too stupid to understand the genius of Chris Pontius' humor. Luckily, over time...
But I mean, I guess as well, it's like, you gotta think about this too. People would go to Bam meet and greets, and they say, hey, Bam, kick me in... An under 18-year-old boy would say, hey, Bam, kick me in the nuts. And Bam goes, are you sure? And he goes, yes, okay. Kicks them in the nuts. Is that sexual assault, you know? It's like, it was kind of a wild time. So, like, I don't know, I feel like it's a dynamic situation. Because Bam kicked many under 18-year-old boys in the nuts.
All of that changed. So when I did finally give Wildboyz a chance as a teenager, I really enjoyed it. But it makes sense that a dumb 12-year-old who drank way too much Vault soda would be into Viva La Bam rather than Wildboyz. These shows cater to two different audiences entirely. Wildboyz is fully available to watch on Paramount Plus, but as of the making of this video at least, Viva La Bam isn't available.
Wait, I want to hear what he said about Wildboyz.
Finally, genius of Chris Paul. And I promised earlier that I would talk about Wildboyz. As a kid, I could not stand this show. I was never the biggest fan of Steve-O when I was younger, and I was too stupid to understand the genius of Chris Pontius' humor. Luckily...
Yeah, I never connected with Chris Pontius. I always thought he was kind of weird. And then Steve-O, I liked Steve-O. It's interesting now, reflecting on it now. I liked Flea Market Steve-O. I like Steve-O with nothing to lose. We'll do anything. Jump in the elephant shit off the ladder, like eat a goldfish, hell yeah. The Steve-O's arc, like, hell yeah, it's nice that he's turned his life around and he's rich and famous and not addicted to drugs and not doing terrible, terrible, terrible things anymore. But it's like, I don't know, I almost connected more with the piece of shit Steve-O versus the like, kind of like egotistical content creator guy that he is now, you know? I kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'm like a scumbag for saying that, but that's just honestly how I feel. I see Steve-O talk now and I'm like, I see Steve-O drink goldfish back then, I'm like, hell yeah. I don't know. I saw a funny thing of Steve-O, because I listened to a fair bit of his podcast. There was one thing where he said, like, in the height of his drug addiction and crazy shit, he was just brutalizing, terrorizing his neighbor so badly. Like, he probably made his neighbor's life unbelievably unbearable for like years. He would like punch through the wall and just like build a skate park and just do the craziest shit. And then he said when he got sober and to do AA, he like called the guy or like somehow got in touch with him and said like, I want to apologize to you. Can I do it? And the guy goes, absolutely never contact me in any kind of way. And then Steve-O telling the story was a little bit like, oh, fair enough, but like, come on, man, I'm trying to apologize. It's like, bro, it is totally fine for that guy to never, ever forgive you, I think. Like 100% valid for that guy to just want nothing to do with you. I think that's extremely reasonable. But he was a little bit like, oh, yeah, man, like, what? Come on, man. I thought that was kind of interesting.
When I was younger and I was too stupid to understand the genius of Chris Pontius' humor.
He seems like one of those people who uses therapy, speak, and sobriety to be an undercover narcissist. Well, he's open that he's a narcissist. He says he's addicted to attention. And he said that's consistent with his behavior from when he was like a piece of shit guy in college or whatever. Steve-O just milking his holier than thou arc. Yeah, that's what I... Because, like, it's good for people to better their life. But he does really, like, emit this aura in almost, like, in relation to the other Jackass people. Like, he kind of, like, tries to, like, big bro them a little bit. He's like, oh, hey, little bro, like, keep at it, and you can be like me one day, little bro. I don't know. I feel like I don't connect with that. Bro's a personal clown, literally. He's lived a very, very interesting life. See, like, that's why he's popular now, because his life experience is extremely interesting. But what I was originally saying, I'm not trying to talk too much shit on him. I was trying to say I connected with the piece of shit Steve-O, and I connect less with the like egomaniac, narcissistic, modern age content Steve-O. He's the son of Coca-Cola. No, I believe it was his father. It was the president or the CEO of PepsiCo South America. and that's why he moved around when he was a kid. But I thought but you know, so effectively he's like rich kid, rich family, and he grew up in a few different countries. I think he went to school in London and America and a few other countries. But you know, I don't think the money affected him. It seemed like he's like rich kid, goes to college, is just the most unhinged piece of shit guy, you know? So I don't know. I don't think he'll let the money. Maybe it hit him in a negative way. I never felt like Steve-O is that Brandon Novak is, though he has a monetary reason he runs rehab centers. Yeah, Novak is like that too. It's interesting how they both like went on this sister path. I never, in the Viva La Bam era, I never really connected with Novak too much either. I almost like didn't even remember him, to be honest. It's cool because you could argue that he just wanted to do all this shit and wasn't for the money, it's just that way. Well, that's what he says too, it was for the attention. He just said he wanted to film doing crazy shit, and like his behavior's always been consistent with that. But it almost seems like now he's too caught up on money and views and fame and whatever. I remember hearing that he was going to be on Dancing with the Stars, and I was like, what the fuck? I thought that was the craziest like switch up. Like, Steve-O, what? I think growing up rich, his attitude towards money, he's still money obsessed today. He monetized literally everything. Yeah, I don't know if that's from growing up rich though, but I think it ties in with his ego that he's like, I gotta get rich, I gotta get rich. It seemed like in this Viva La Bam Jackass era, he was always jealous of Bam in Knoxville. I'm basing that on purely nothing outside looking in, but it always kind of felt like, I think I've heard him say that he was jealous of Bam before. It felt like he was like, damn, why am I the like secondary character when they're the main characters?
Luckily,
but anyway, that's probably enough monologuing on Steve-O.
When I was younger and I was too stupid to understand the genius of Chris Pontius' humor. Luckily, over time, all of that changed. So when I did finally give Wildboyz a chance as a teenager, I really enjoyed it. But it makes sense that a dumb 12-year-old who drank way too much Vault soda would be into Viva La Bam rather than Wildboyz. These shows cater to two different audiences entirely. Wildboyz is fully available to watch on Paramount+, but as of the making of this video at least, Viva La Bam isn't available to stream on any service in the US.
That's insane.
The thing is, if they ever add this show to Paramount+, they're gonna have to go in there and gut all of the great music that Bam curated for the show, just like they did with Jackass. And the music on this show is almost like another co-star. It's so important to the entire thing. But that'll do it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it.
I feel like Homeboy could have had a little stronger ending. But how good is this guy's channel? Like, for real, I love this guy's channel. I can't praise him enough. These videos are so good. I really, truly feel like it is made directly for me. Did I have any final thoughts on that? Yeah, that's kind of crazy that you can't even watch it if you want to. Like, what the hell? Solid research to make the videos very well done. Yeah. He sounds like Kelly Hart. You think we should hit him up? But see, that video was good. It didn't even perform well, I'm pretty sure. 35K, like, that's good, but it's not insane for how good of a video that was. If he made it about Hawk Tour, if he made a video that good about Hawk Tour Girl, it would get 500K views. That's what's sad. Or like, Mark Rober versus Tesla. 500K views. But because it's about Viva La Bam, nothing.